Okay, Oscar fans, meet Adnan Virk of ESPN. How often I get the question, who is Adnan Virk from ESPN up there with all of these guys from Yahoo and Entertainment Weekly and the rest of it? And I tell the story of how one day Chris, our managing editor here, said, Tom, you know, there's this guy on ESPN. He just really knows his stuff. I want to invite him to join us. And so he did. Now, Chris, take it from here.
Well, yeah, I've been watching you for. I've told you this, but watching you for years. That's my background channel. That's when I'm working on articles all day. I've got ESPN on. For example, I know you've been hosting with Ryan some this week because I've been watching that. So I was saying to Tom, well, not only does he know his sports, but he always gets little comments in here and there, whether they want them or not, about all of his favorite movies and predicting award shows. I said, I've never seen anybody beyond the kind of people Tom was mentioning talking about awards on other shows. So that's why we invited you. And now all of these entertainment people are journalists are jealous of you because you've won 3 out of our 4 contests this week.
Yeah, he won the Golden Globe film nominations, Golden Globe TV nominations, and SAG TV nominations among the experts. Amazing. Congratulations.
Tom, Chris, listen, it's all downhill from here. We know that. This is I wouldn't say beginner's luck because we've done this for a couple of years, but it's you never want to be the front runner because eventually it's going to be a downfall. But thanks to you both for including me with this. You know, I've had such a blast on Gold Derby and seeing all the predictions and getting swept up in this. Chris had said to me, once you do it once, you're going to be hooked. You're going to be updating your predictions. You're going to think you know everything from the Independent Spirit Awards to the DGA to the SAGs to everything. And Tom, thanks for always prodding us to remind us to update it because there's always a reason to update. You see a film and then you hear some feedback. Okay, listen, I love The Shape of Water. Now all of a sudden I'm on board. Then you hear about Phantom Thread, losing momentum, etc. So I love the fact that all these esteemed entertainment journalists, I can just imagine Peter Travers just wringing his hair out going, who the heck is this Virk guy? They're talking about football or something. You don't know anything about movies. So I feel like the ultimate outsider now become the insider. So that's great news for me.
Yeah, you really have. I may regret the day Chris said, you know, can we add this Adnan guy because you're kicking our ass now. And you're doing it consistently, so you're a problem. We got to take you down. This year you're playing it. Looking at your current nominations, they're way too conservative. Adnan, come on, you've got Dunkirk, Gary Oldman. Come on, shake it up a little bit. What's your thinking here? What do you really think, or are you being too conservative there?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Tom. It's too conservative right now because I'm kind of hedging a little bit. What I'm blown away by, and I love the fact you guys did a post on Gold Derby the other day about the SAGs. It's unbelievable. I cannot believe the post was shut out. I'm incredulous that The Shape of Water or Call Me by My Name or any of those supposed frontrunners are not up for film ensemble. So to me, that is fascinating because as you both know, you know, the newbies tend to look at the Golden Globes, and that is not a good predictor of Oscar success. The Hollywood Foreign Press is so small and at times can be so silly, with all due respect, The Tourist, Best Comedy, and we know all those stories. So I never used to be that guy who'd say, well, the Globes nominated this, but let's all of a sudden now, you know, The Greatest Showman is going to be up for Best Picture. Of course, that's not the case. But the SAGs are the ones I always look at. And as you guys have pointed out on Gold Derby, you know, 85% success rate to see no Hanks, no Streep, and a film that I adored in The Shape of Water. And I love those performances from Sally Hawkins and Octavia Spencer and Richard Jenkins and Michael Shannon. To see that not for ensemble, I mean, you guys had the stat. Braveheart's the last time a film won Best Picture, and it was not up for Best Film Ensemble. So I'm blown away by this. And you're right, Tom. Right now I'm too conservative. I've got to make some moves here. Because I don't think, listen, how crazy is this Best Picture race? I want you guys to weigh in here. I'll tell you why each film will not win. Dunkirk's not going to win. Americans don't care about British war history. Shape of Water's not going to win. It's too weird. It's too eccentric. It's too Del Toro-esque. Call Me by My Name is not going to win. It's too small. It's too indie. Gay love story, not going to do it. Lady Bird, it's a sweet movie, but it's too slight. Too many male voters aren't going to go for the story of a mother and a daughter. You know, I Phantom Thread, too strange, too much P.T. Anderson. You can go through 3 billboards, too edgy, too much profanity, too much rough housing. Like each film, you can start to disparage and say, I can't see this winning Best Picture, which makes it so much fun, right?
It does. Daniel Montgomery, our senior editor, did a terrific piece today about that, how this time last year, there were actually 3 movies that were being taken seriously for Best Picture. La La had almost all the predictions of the experts prior to the nominations coming out One expert picked Manchester by the Sea, none picked Moonlight. And when you go all the way to Oscar night, only 2 of the experts picked Moonlight, and both of them did it as an act of defiance. They didn't really believe it was going to win.
By the way, Tom, who was it the one year they were the only ones? It was incredible that they picked Mark Rylance to win Best Supporting Actor. I'm still amazed by whoever was the one that got that right.
Right.
Is that Jack Matthews, Tom?
Jack Matthews was one of them. I think Glenn Whipp may have been too. It was just 2 or 3 total. And they knew it. They were very confident about it. You know, Jack Matthews is a good example. He's a longtime Oscarologist for the LA Times, New York Daily News, and USA Today. And he's one of our experts. He's writing for us now, and I'm very proud of that. What were we just talking about? I lost my train of thought.
Just in the fact that he picked Rylance.
But like the year of Birdman, he said in October the previous year he hadn't even seen the movie. That's winning. I'm not falling for this Boyhood bullshit. And you know, sometimes when you see it, a pundit like us who really care too much about this stuff, but we get it. You know, we just nail it. You have that moment where you know Mark Rylance is going to win, and you say "F you" to everybody else. Those are the greatest moments of punditry. You know, in recent years, I was the only expert at Gold Derby who predicted that Inarritu would win DGA. Now everybody remembers, oh no, I predicted that. No, they didn't. Everybody went for George Miller that year. And I was the only...
Sorry to interrupt. I remember you flipped your vote on Spotlight. I want to say the morning of that it won Best Picture, and you got it. I said, wow,
and I got
how
it.
did you know that?
I got it. Yeah. I was the only expert at SAG to predict Eddie Redmayne, which then, of course, when it happened, it took off. So those little things, when you own them, they're the best.
Yeah, there's no question. Chris, Chris, now it's your turn to brag a little bit. You've had some feathers in the cap.
Well, my Best Picture at the Oscars has been off the rails for at least 3 years. Before that, I had not missed probably since Back to Crash. Wow. So I'm just desperate to get the Best Picture right this year. And we were just chatting before with this preferential ballot. Could Lady Bird be the one? Because not a soul that I've heard talk about it, from critics to the public to our own staff, says anything less kind than I really liked it. Nobody says they hated it. And I just don't imagine the person that would rank it below, you know, first, second, third, maybe fourth. But something like 3 Billboards, which I also think is really in the conversation here, I know some people that just despise it.
Yeah, that's a great point, Chris, because if you ask right now, my 2 favorite films of the year are 3 Billboards and Shape of Water. But I completely recognize both films are awfully polarizing. And I could certainly find audiences that would say, listen, this story of a woman whose daughter is brutally raped and then murdered, and the fact it's got this dark humor, and Rockwell's character is awfully tough to take, a violent redneck mama's boy, no thanks. And Shape of Water, I mean, you try to explain that to some people, they go, what? A mute woman's in love with an amphibian creature? Like, no, pass, not going to go for that. But I really think, like Dunkirk, correct me if I'm wrong, fellas, it really feels like it's fallen off now. You look at all the nominations, the categories. Yeah. Right? Like, there's no question. Now it feels like Nolan's the only bet. And now that's not a guarantee. Now you feel like maybe Del Toro wins that DGA, and then the directors give him the Oscar as well.
Greta Gerwig could win, too. I mean, this theme of, you know, women this year are really kicking butt. The Best Actress race is so crowded, they didn't have room for Meryl Streep at SAG. Meanwhile, over on the Best Actor category, it's very light. We have 4 movies from a female perspective this year. In the Best Picture race, from 3 Billboards to Lady Bird, Shape of Water, and The Post. And, let's hope a female nominated for director again and maybe win. I know it's hard. I'm on. Admin, tell me what you think of my brave 3 Billboards prediction for Best Picture, because I've held on to it now for more than a month. And look, it's overperforming at SAG. It overperformed at the Golden Globes. It did very well at all the Critics Awards. Like, it was, there were 3 movies at the New York Film Critics that jockeyed for Best Picture: Call Me by Your Name, Lady Bird, and 3 Billboards. It's that movie that it just brilliantly channels our own outrage over the injustice of life.
Yes,
and it's so artistic. It feels important. Feels like a real movie of ideas and stuff. So. And it's overperforming. Do you think it could win?
Yeah, here's the reasons for it, Tom. It's incredibly contemporary. As you said, it's dealing with real issues right now. distrust between police and the average citizen. It takes place in the heartland, which for all those who say too many of these films are about New York, LA, catering to those audiences, this is a film set in Missouri. So people who maybe feel their lives are too often marginalized or underlooked now get their chance on the big screen. Terrific cast, as you said. I think McDormand wins Best Actress. Maybe Sally Hawkins can give it a push. But I think Sally Hawkins might win, I think, with the Golden Globe with the Hollywood Foreign Press. But I do think Frances McDormand, it's her best performance since Fargo. Well-respected actress. People love her. And I think
it's the biggest performance. Emotionally, it's the biggest, yeah.
No question. It's so it's just so brassy. And Rockwell, like his arc is amazing, the way his character kind of transforms. And I've always felt it's not that he's necessarily an underrated actor, but an underutilized one. So I'm glad to see Martin McDonagh, who's really liked him. Obviously, he was in Seven Psychopaths, was in one of his plays. He recognizes that kind of unique Rockwell intensity and kind of that offhand humor that he brings to the table. So in reference to what you're saying for Best Picture, if McDormand wins Actress, McDonagh's got a good chance at Screenplay, although I think Greta Gerwig wins Lady Bird. And if it at least gets a Best Director nomination, which I think it will do, I think McDonagh will score 2 nominations for writing and directing, then I could definitely see a way in which it does win the Best Picture. The only quibbles, I think, maybe some find it a little violent and just find it a little bit off-putting in terms of the style. But listen, Hollywood has rewarded films that have been cutting edge in the past.
And then is there a lead actor that you're really thinking? Because I thought the moment I saw Gary Oldman in Darkest Hour, I thought, well, this race is over. It's like a Daniel Day-Lewis Lincoln kind of a thing. But yeah. But as time has moved on, he's gotten nominated everywhere, but he's not winning any critics' prizes. It's all been about Chalamet.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Chris, because I was thinking McDormand, this could be one of those years, kind of like, let's say Forrest Whitaker, Last King of Scotland, like he just starts winning all the critics' awards and goes on to win the Oscar. And now I'm not so certain about McDormand because I think Sally Hawkins will push and will get some. But for actor, I'm with you. I thought, Oldman's got this thing locked up. And there's 2 issues. One is which the movie isn't nearly as good as the performance. Like Joe Wright's a decent director, and obviously Atonement was a good film. But I think he had a real challenge, which is how do you take a script which is so voluble and so wordy and try to make it cinematic? And I don't mean this disparagingly. It just feels like a BBC movie of the week. You know, I recognize that those can be solid films, but it doesn't have the big, grand, epic scale. And his performance is phenomenal. I mean, from the prosthetics and the fat suit and the voice, and he's got certainly some scenes where he can really dig into that material. And he's a well-respected actor who's never won an Oscar, which, of course, is a major consideration. But I would watch out for Chalamet because you're right. The fact he won the New York and LA Film Critics Awards, maybe a wave of sentiment for Daniel Day-Lewis if this is indeed retirement. Although I'm surprised that Phantom Thread hasn't gotten more pub than it has. It really hasn't. From what New York gave it the Screenplay Award for P.T. Anderson, but I'm surprised. It feels like DDL is really the only leader of that movie. So I'm with you. I would have thought before Oldman's a lock, but I think Chalamet can make a push.
Yeah, I just switched to him last night, thinking that that's where the momentum's going. I'll switch back, I'm sure, back and forth, but it's clear that it's a real threat.
How about the
I wonder also about, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Chris. I was going to say, is there any chance, because we agree that it's relatively wide open now, so Oldman, Chalamet, Daniel Day-Lewis, they are all locks for nominations. How about if James Franco, and I just saw The Disaster Artist, and maybe it's a little too inside, maybe it's a little too goofy, but that is a wonderful performance. I mean, if you want like an outside-the-box role, I hope he gets a nomination. I know now in Gold Derby, he's edging out Denzel for Roman J. Israel, which I don't think is a particularly noteworthy movie or performance. But, geez, wouldn't it be great if Franco upset the apple cart? He's going to win the Golden Globe, I think, for Best Actor in a Comedy or Musical. How crazy would it be to see Franco win an Oscar for playing?
Well, I just got back from interviewing him, and let me say this about him, maybe beyond the movie. He is so charming. He's working all the parties and shaking the hands and kissing the babies and everything. And the other thing, I mean, I told him off camera, I said, you're winning the Globe for comedy. I can't imagine who would. I said, now the others, I don't know yet. But look, playing an actor and playing such an over-the-top actor, what if he wins SAG too?
How ingenious was it, the way that they crafted the film at the end with the credits, and you can see The Room side by side with that, and how smart was that, Tom? Because then you go, wait, this is an incredible performance. If you haven't seen The Room, look at how uncanny this guy is. It's unreal.
I saw the film at a SAG screening at DGA in Hollywood, and the line was out the door. People were storming the place trying to get in, and he was, like Chris was saying, he's really working it. And look, you can win Oscars and get nominations and all that on the ground. That's how Eddie Redmayne beat Michael Keaton. Sometimes it doesn't matter. Like Mark Rylance won an Oscar without doing anything and showing up for anything. But sometimes what like Timothee's doing it now for Call Me by Your Name, and Franco's doing it. There's some who are on the ground there in Hollywood, just charming the hell out of everybody, and could benefit from that rather strongly.
Yeah, Franco has definitely been everywhere, so I agree with you guys. He's gonna be there.
I want to give you another little tease about something that'll be in this interview I post next week.
Sure.
But I asked him in the interview, because it's like a political campaign. I mean, it's all about having those moments. It's about getting on stage and giving a wild, Globe comedy acceptance speech, or a memorable one at least. I said, well, at the end of the movie, there's a little line about how he had bought out that theater, 15 years ago, whenever it was, so he could, for 2 weeks, so he could qualify for Academy Awards of all things. I said, do you think Tommy would attend one of these award shows with you? And he said he just asked him that the other night at dinner. He said, would you rather attend the Globes, SAG Awards, or if we get in at the Oscars? And I'm not even going to attempt to do the voice. But Tommy said, why can't I attend all of them? So if James Franco starts bringing him, and that sideshow attraction starts, I mean, we've seen crazier things happen. I could see James Franco having one of the most unbelievable turnarounds from his Oscar hosting year to potentially winning this coming March.
Yeah, his arc is fascinating. He went from an actor who obviously earned all those laurels for good reason, playing James Dean, good-looking guy, heartthrob, all the rest of it, and then a series of bad movies, Tristan and Isolde, Flyboys, and then nomination 127 hours. But then, like you mentioned, the disastrous Oscars hosting gig. Like for a young actor, he's only 39. He's had a remarkable swing. I want to ask you guys about supporting actress, because I think Laurie Metcalf wins for Lady Bird. It's a wonderful performance, and
it's a done deal.
Talk about Oscar scenes, Tom. The scene at the airport. I don't want to give it away for people who haven't seen it, but that's the Oscar clip scene. You go, that is beautiful. She's so stubborn and so rigid, and then the pangs of regret come, and you know what it's like to lose a loved one. I got to get back there. But is there any chance for Allison Janney? She's the best part of I, Tonya. She's so funny in that.
Because they like the winking devil, So you have to have some, even when Javier Bardem was winking, Christoph Waltz, the winking devil, you have to be in on the joke kind of thing. And she's just too cruel all the time. She has one moment we think she relents, and then she flips back. I don't know, but Laurie Metcalf is the aching heart of every mother we know, and she's the first scene in the movie, and she's the final shot in the movie too, by the way. And she's also an awards magnet, as you know. She's got 3 Emmys. She's won a Tony Award. Yeah. And she just represents that workaday professional in the trenches that the other actors love. Because it's just like J.K. Simmons and those kinds of people. When they win Oscars, it's like, way to go, Laurie, you did it.
On that theme, then, Willem Dafoe, supporting actor, 65 years old, never won. Previous nominations, obviously, but
he can win.
I feel like he's the front runner, but the Florida Project isn't doing as well in any of the other categories. So I worry when Chris, he's the lone salvation for that. Sean Baker's not going to get nominated. Obviously, the girl who plays Mooney isn't getting nominated. So when it's just Dafoe, does it help or hurt, or is it just the win is just the nomination for a guy like Willem Dafoe? I feel like he's going to win this time.
It doesn't help when you're the only nomination, but sometimes that narrative starts to build. Remember, like Julianne Moore on Still Alice, which was basically a Lifetime movie. That had no other nominations, and there's been other people like that too. I think it's Dafoe. I've been predicting. I just moved him into first for my Oscar predictions, and I think for SAG as well. Mm-hmm. Sam Rockwell really intrigues me. I mean, it's not like he's a young guy. He's late 40s, close to 50, and another guy that's a workaday, been in 30, 40 movies. He's also a stage actor, and 3 Billboards is going to be having a lot more nominations. So that he really intrigues me as a possible winner as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Rockwell could upset the apple cart, whereas the other ones, Jenkins, I think a nomination is the victory in itself, whether it's Schulberg or Armie Hammer, both representing Call Me By My Name. I'm hoping Rylance gets a nomination for Dunkirk, because I really feel like if Dunkirk doesn't get any acting nominations, it's tough to just go Nolan Best Director and then all of a sudden Best Picture. That feels far-fetched, right?
Yeah, but back to Stolbarg for a second, because I really do believe he still can win, even though he was shut out at SAG. We know that there are cases like Christoph Waltz and Marcia Gay Harden, who won the Oscar after being shut out at SAG. It happens rarely, but it happens. I think. Do you think that could happen too? That little speech Stolbarg has at the end, just kind of, it's that you just mentioned it. Laurie Metcalf has her scene. He's got his. Can it win?
That's interesting because, again, to Chris's point, Stolberg's another guy, veteran actor, been grinding it out, theater and movies, actor's actor. Like, it's not like he's this guy who's, this new upstart or somebody who's too long in the tooth. Like, he's kind of paid his dues. So you're right. He fits with that mold of Metcalf.
Well, I was just watching an older, 15 years ago. It reminds me very much, not just the role, but the combination of roles of Jim Broadbent the year he won.
Oh, yeah.
Not a very expressive performance in Iris, but he also had Moulin Rouge, and I believe Topsy Turvy was that year. So he had a trifecta. Stolbarg has Shape of Water, Call Me by Your Name, and The Post all this year that are all being seen on DVDs right now or in theaters. So that's a possibility.
Every year there's always that Oscar I care about more than anything else. And as I said, listen, I love Three Billboards. I love Shape of Water. And I love the fact currently for cinematographer, Roger Deakins is leading the way for Blade Runner. He has to win this year, right? This has got to stop, guys.
I know, but his name doesn't appear on the ballot. Remember, when you get below the line, it's just the movie title that they see, so they often forget. I was stunned last year when Kevin O'Connell finally won that Sound Award, because it was like, and I forget, he wasn't the front runner to win at all. And here he was, Oscar's biggest loser of all time, and you kept thinking, well, he wasn't in a sexy movie. What did he win for? Hacksaw, one of those, something like that?
Yeah, Hacksaw Ridge, yeah.
Yeah. And so, but he pulled off an upset. So I think that was because the word had gotten out. The Academy was finally paying attention. And that may happen in Roger's case. I think you're right that everyone's like, come on.
Blade Runner needs to be like a Mad Max level nominations. Not necessarily wins, but I've got an assignment out right now to a writer about, are we underestimating Blade Runner, even like just for a Best Picture nomination?
No.
Because if you look at well, listen, Tom, if you look at our odds, it's going to get 7 or 8 nominations without even a Best Picture nomination. So if enough of those crafts people, start marking it on their Best Picture ballot, it's not impossible.
Okay.
How about animated film? As we have on Gold Derby, Coco's the favorite, but I tell you, everybody who's seen Loving Vincent says to me, how is this not going to win an Oscar? Is this a genuine race?
There's a lot of love for Loving Vincent. That's true. And there's another one in there that
The Breadwinner.
Breadwinner.
Yeah. That came in second at the Annies, right, for the number of nominations. So it's a race, but I think that Coco, with its extraordinary sentimentalism about life and death, and the heart tugging it creates at the strings, I think that will carry the day. In that case, I would find it hard. The question is, can it get in for Best Picture? And I think even that could happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sweet film, and it's topical film. And the other one, too, this is the issue with The Post, that I just say, watch out, but just maybe. It didn't perform well at SAG, but just maybe. If there's enough anti-Trump sentiment.
Oh, yeah. No. It's
right.
The Post what happened at SAG, we can't write off The Post. It can actually win. It is a flawless movie, too. It's fantastic in every respect. And tasteful and feels good. It's a better movie than Spotlight and All the President's Men in some ways. And it's Spielberg at the top of his game. But and the timing is right and all those other things. So I think this is one year when we have to take those SAG tea leaves and be skeptical about them, because The Post is definitely in the running, and more experts are predicting it will actually win.
Yeah, it's literally, there's 8 movies that can win Best Picture. That's great to see. I love it.
As we wrap up, Adnan, was there a favorite movie of yours this year that you saw? Just a favorite?
Yeah. It's a kind of a toss-up for me, guys. It's Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, just because it's so – I've never seen anything like it. It's just so audacious and so powerful. And I just love Martin McDonagh's script. I mean, his scripts are so much fun to listen to, and you just see actors at the top of their game. Not only – listen, we've talked a lot about Frances McDormand and Sam Rockwell, but I love Woody Harrelson. He's always in the script, right? How good is he? Small role, but he's – the scene where he tells McDormand that he has cancer, and she has no reaction to that. It's so good by him. Like, I thought that was going to be enough, but no, that's not enough. Okay, great. And then we move on from there. But Woody's great. And like I said, I like the fact it's so contemporary. But Shape of Water, too. I mean, a modern-day Beauty and the Beast, enchanting fable, Creature of the Black Lagoon. I had Richard Jenkins on my podcast, Cinephile, and I said, how about the chutzpah of Guillermo del Toro to put in that scene with the musical? Like, at any point, was he second guessing himself and going, geez, I don't know about this? And Richard said, yeah. He goes, there was times, he goes, are we pushing this too far? And he goes, but that's what you do with art. It's challenging, it's unconventional. And if you go for it, especially people like us, if you love movies, if you love old school bravura filmmaking, but I think you love The Shape of Water. So I hope it does well. And I think it'll win at the Golden Globe. I think it might win Best Picture there.
Wow.
I'm hearing that there's a lot of love for Three Billboards at the Globes. I mean, a lot of love. And I had been told by voters before the nominations came out, because our odds did not have Martin McDonagh getting nominated for director. And I had been told, oh, he's definitely getting in. And you don't underestimate Three Billboards at the Globes. And actually, there's a former president of the Globes who's championing it among the voters, who's adopted it as a cause. And that often helps too behind the scenes. Look, they got Best Picture right last year with Moonlight, and they picked this oddball little indie movie, little movie with a big heart. The question is that the theme now? Because the little movie with a big heart is your number 2 if it's not your 1. So
yes.
As we look through our crystal balls, Chris asked the question, yeah, well, it's Lady Bird this year. And then you talk yourself into something else and something else.
But here's the great thing about the Globes, if they think, they think about these kind of things. If they're sensing that it could be Three Billboards at the Oscars, well, they're covering themselves with Lady Bird on the other side.
Oh, right.
They get to have 2 Best Picture winners.
Right.
Well, Chris, that's your best point, that Lady Bird, who's going to rank it lower than 3? Like,
right.
At worst, someone says, yeah, it's a really well-written, sweet film, and I can relate to it. At worst, the people that love it, like A.O. Scott's review is unbelievable. He makes it sound like it's a modern-day Citizen Kane. There's not one line of inauthentic dialogue, and it's Greta Gerwig. And, of course, the Academy loves actors turned directors, so Greta Gerwig will ride that sentiment. I'm sure there's going to be listen, the biggest story of the year has been the sexual harassment scandal. What would be a bigger sign than to say, let's reward a female director who's worthy of the recognition? So I agree that Lady Bird could be an interesting one, because I do think it'll do well, and it certainly has done so well so far. What I'm going to ask you guys, because, listen, there's always a nomination for a film that I say, listen, I don't get this one. Have either of you seen The Square? Can you explain to me how it won the Palme d'Or and it's the frontrunner for Best Foreign Film?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Okay. Chris?
It's getting nominated for everything, and it's on the Oscar shortlist.
Listen, you guys are smarter than I am. When you see it, please reach out and tell me what I missed. I don't get that one at all.
Listen, there's movies every year, usually a Best Picture nominee, and sometimes a Best Picture winner, I won't say which one, that I just don't get at all. I don't understand the appeal whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what makes it fun. Once in a while, I can have a few head scratch. I remember, Chris, that line you said about Still Alice, that it felt like a Lifetime movie. But hey, kudos to Julianne Moore.
Well, thanks, Adnan. I'm going to definitely be looking to steal your predictions moving forward.
Well, listen, we've had some early success here, but we know that that's going to dry out eventually. But I just feel like somehow I feel like when Bruce Springsteen actually won the Oscar for Best Song for Streets of Philadelphia, he said, thank you for inviting me to your party. So I want to thank you, Tom and Chris. Thank you for inviting me to your party, because I feel like somehow the sportscasters crashed the party, and I'm glad that I've got a seat at the table for now.
Well-earned one. Thanks for joining us.
All right, thanks.